Something felt wrong the moment I stepped into our brownstone. The silence was different, heavier, guilty. I'm Trey, and after 12 years in consulting, I've learned to trust my instincts about these things. The scattered wine glasses in the living room, the unfamiliar leather jacket draped over our vintage armchair, Vienna's shoes kicked off haphazardly on the stairs. It all told a story I didn't want to read. "Vienna," I called out, my voice echoing through our home. No response. I loosened my tie, set down my briefcase. The house felt like a crime scene, and I was the detective nobody had called. My footsteps were careful, deliberate on the hardwood floors as I climbed the stairs. Our bedroom door was slightly ajar. The afternoon sun filtered through the gaps in the curtains, casting strange shadows across our marriage bed. And there they were, Vienna and Darnell, tangled in our Egyptian cotton sheets, sleeping peacefully in the aftermath of what they'd done. My stomach lurched. The world tilted sideways, then righted itself with cruel clarity. Vienna's dark hair spilled across my pillow, her bare shoulder pressed against Darnell's chest. The rising star of the local art scene, the man she'd gushed about mentoring her, had apparently been teaching her much more than painting. I must have made a sound because Vienna's eyes fluttered open. The moment she saw me, her face drained of color. "Trey," she gasped, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Oh God, Trey." Darnell stirred beside her, confusion giving way to panic as he registered my presence. He sat up quickly, reaching for his scattered clothes. "This isn't," he started, but I cut him off with a raised hand. "Don't," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Just don't." Vienna scrambled out of bed, wrapping herself in our sheet. "Please, Trey, we need to talk about this. But first, please, you can't tell anyone. This would destroy Darnell's career. The gallery opening is in 2 weeks." I almost laughed. My wife of 8 years caught in our bed with another man, and her first concern was his career? "Get dressed," I said quietly. "Both of you." I turned and walked downstairs, my mind already racing ahead. While they fumbled with their clothes upstairs, I took out my phone and started taking pictures. The wine glasses, the jacket, the shoes. Evidence. Not for a divorce lawyer, but for something else. Something that was already taking shape in my mind. When they came down, Vienna was crying. Darnell looked anywhere but at me. "We should talk about this," Vienna pleaded. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I replied, my tone flat. "Go back upstairs. Sleep it off. We'll discuss this tomorrow." They stared at me, bewildered by my calmness. You're letting us stay?" Darnell asked. I smiled, though it felt more like baring my teeth. "For now, go." They retreated upstairs, whispering to each other. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then took more pictures. The rumpled bed, the wine stains on the sheets. Every detail that told the story of their betrayal. Some men might have raged, might have thrown Darnell out, or called everyone they knew. But as I stood in our living room, surrounded by the evidence of my wife's infidelity, I knew that revenge, like the best paintings, required patience, planning, and the perfect composition. I had just become an artist of a different kind. The next week passed in a blur of fake smiles and hollow conversations. Vienna moved between apologies and justifications, while I nodded and pretended to process it all. In reality, I was watching, waiting, and gathering information. "You seem distracted," my mother Patricia said over coffee. We were at her favorite cafe, the one she'd been dragging me to since I was a kid. "Is everything okay with Vienna?" "Never better," I lied, stirring my coffee. "Just work stress." She gave me that look mother's perfect over decades. "You're a terrible liar, Trey. Always have been." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "Need to talk. Important. Meet at Murphy's." Grace had been our friend for years, but lately she'd been distant from Vienna. Maybe she knew something I needed to hear. Sorry, Mom. Rain check? I kissed her cheek and headed out. Grace was already at the bar when I arrived, nursing a gin and tonic. Her face was tight with concern. I've been debating whether to tell you this, she said as I sat down. But after what Vienna pulled with Jake last year, I froze. What about Jake? Grace's eyes widened. You don't know? Jake was Vienna's mentee before Darnell. She convinced him to leave his girlfriend, then dropped him when he became too clingy. Nearly ruined his career in advertising. The bartender came over, but I waved him away. My stomach was churning. There's more, Grace continued, lowering her voice. I work in PR, Trey. I hear things. Vienna's been strategic about her relationships. Always someone who could advance her career. And Darnell, rising star in the art world. His show next month is supposed to be huge. Grace touched my arm. I'm so sorry, Trey. I should have said something sooner. I pulled out my phone, opened my messages with Vienna. Scrolling back months, I started seeing patterns I'd missed. Late nights at the gallery. Meetings that kept changing times and locations. And Darnell's name, appearing more and more frequently. I need your help, I said finally, looking up at Grace. But you can't ask questions. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Whatever you need. Back home, I found Vienna in her studio, painting. She'd been doing that more lately, since Darnell started mentoring her. How was your mother? She asked, not looking up from her canvas. Fine. She asked about you. Vienna's brush hesitated for a fraction of a second. What did you tell her? That we're fine. That's what you want everyone to think, right? Now she turned, her face carefully composed. Trey, we talked about this. It was a mistake. One time. It won't happen again. I picked up her phone from the table. She'd left it unlocked. One time? Her eyes widened as I scrolled through her messages with Darnell. 3 months of texts. Planning. Scheming. Laughing about me. Trey, please. His schedule is so predictable. I read aloud. Tuesday meetings always run late. Come over at 7. I looked up at her. That was 6 weeks ago. Vienna was crying now, but I'd learned enough about her to know when tears were real. These weren't. I love you, she whispered. We can fix this. I set her phone down gently. You're right. We can. As I left her studio, my own phone buzzed. Grace had sent me Darnell's contact information, including his gallery representative. Perfect. The pieces were falling into place. Sometimes the best revenge isn't swift or violent. Sometimes it's patient, methodical, and as carefully crafted as one of Darnell's precious paintings. And I was just getting started. Grace arranged the meeting with Kyler, the gallery owner, presenting me as Samuel Henry, an anonymous collector interested in commissioning Darnell's work. The gallery was all clean lines and stark white walls, with Darnell's previous pieces displayed like sacred objects. Mr. Henry, Kyler beamed, extending his hand. Darnell's been excited about this meeting. He rarely takes commissions, but when I mentioned your generous offer. Money isn't an issue, I said, adjusting my fake glasses. I want something specific, something raw, real. Darnell strode in, all confidence and casual grace. He didn't recognize me. We'd only met briefly at gallery events, and the beard I'd grown changed my appearance enough. Vienna had always said I could disappear in a crowd. Finally, a useful trait. Your work captures intimacy beautifully, I said, opening my portfolio. I want something like that, something that captures forbidden passion. I slid the first reference photo across the table. It was carefully edited, the lighting adjusted to hide the familiar details of my bedroom. But there they were. Vienna and Darnell, caught in their moment of betrayal. Darnell leaned forward, studying the image. This is incredible. The composition, the raw emotion. He looked up. Where did you get this? I have my sources, I smiled. There are more. I want you to capture this exact scene. Every detail. I watched his face as he flipped through the photos. No recognition. No realization that he was looking at himself. The artist's ego really was blind. The commission fee is non-negotiable, I added, sliding across a contract Grace had helped prepare. Full ownership rights transfer to me upon completion. Kyler's eyes widened at the figure. Mr. Henry, this is extremely generous. I believe in investing in art that moves me, I said. Will you take the commission, Darnell? He was still staring at the photos. These subjects, they're anonymous? Completely. That's part of the appeal, isn't it? The mystery, the secrecy. I paused. The betrayal. Darnell nodded slowly. I'll do it. This could be my masterpiece. Excellent. I stood, gathering the contract. One small detail. I want this. I pointed to a specific spot in the reference photo. Add a wedding ring on the nightstand. It adds to the narrative. Brilliant touch, Darnell agreed, completely missing the fact that it was my own wedding band in the original photo. I'll start immediately. After signing the paperwork, I left the gallery and walked to the park where Grace was waiting. Did he bite? She asked. Hook, line, and sinker. I sat beside her. He's going to paint his own downfall, and he doesn't even know it. Vienna called me today, Grace said quietly. She's worried about you. Says you've been distant. I laughed bitterly. Distant? I found texts on her phone. She's planning to leave me after Darnell's show. Says I'm holding her back from her true artistic potential. Grace touched my hand. Are you sure you want to go through with this? It will destroy them both. They destroyed themselves, I replied. I'm just creating the exhibition. My phone buzzed. A text from Vienna. Working late at the gallery with Darnell. Don't wait up. I showed it to Grace, who shook her head in disgust. The show's in 2 weeks, I said, standing up. Everything has to be perfect. The painting, the timing, the reveal. And then what? I thought about Vienna and Darnell, probably together right now, thinking they were so clever, so secretive. Then they learn that every masterpiece has its price. Grace watched me with concern, but I was past caring. Some people paint with oils and canvas. I was painting with truth and consequences. And my exhibition was going to be unforgettable. You'll come to the show, won't you? Vienna asked over dinner, pushing her untouched pasta around her plate. It means so much to Darnell. And to me. I'm his muse, after all. I nearly choked on my wine. The audacity was breathtaking. Wouldn't miss it, I replied, watching her face carefully. How's the painting coming along? Oh, it's... She hesitated. I haven't seen it. He's being very secretive about his centerpiece. I bet he is, I thought, but smiled instead. Must be special. Later that night, I followed Vienna to what she'd claimed was a gallery meeting. Instead, she met Darnell at a small cafe across town. I sat in a corner, hidden behind a newspaper, close enough to hear everything. He suspects nothing, Vienna was saying, stirring her coffee. After the show, once you're established, we can finally be open about us. Darnell reached across the table, taking her hand. What about Trey? Trey? She laughed, and the sound cut through me like glass. He's been convenient security while I built my connections in the art world. But he's so boring, safe. He doesn't understand passion like you do. The painting's almost finished, Darnell said. Kyler thinks it's my best work yet. This mysterious collector, Samuel Henry, he's paying a fortune for it. Speaking of mysterious, Vienna leaned forward. There's something familiar about those reference photos he gave you. The bedroom, the lighting. My heart stopped. Darnell shrugged. All bedrooms look similar in the right light. Besides, who cares? This show will launch me into the major leagues, and then we can start our real life together. I'd heard enough. Outside, I called Grace. I need you to come over, I said. Bring your laptop. There's something you need to hear. An hour later, Grace sat in my study, listening to the recording I'd made at the cafe. Her face grew darker with each word. That manipulative... She couldn't even finish. Trey, there's more. I found these. She opened her laptop, showing me emails between Vienna and her previous mentors. Each followed the same pattern. Get close. Use their connections. Discard them once they'd served their purpose. Jake wasn't the first, Grace said quietly. There were others. Always artists or gallery owners. Always married or in relationships. She'd destroy their personal lives, then move on when they were no longer useful. I poured us both a drink. How long have you known? I suspected for a while, but I only got proof recently. She paused. There's something else. Vienna's been spreading rumors about you, saying you're controlling, that you stifle her creativity. Perfect, I said, surprising her. Let her build her narrative. It'll make the fall even sweeter. My phone buzzed. A text from Kyler. Mr. Henry, the painting is nearly complete. Would you like a private viewing before the show? I showed Grace the message. Want to see Darnell's masterpiece? The next morning, we met Kyler at the gallery. The painting was everything I'd hoped for. Vienna and Darnell captured in perfect, damning detail. My wedding ring gleamed on the nightstand. A detail Darnell had faithfully reproduced without understanding its significance. It's magnificent, I said, watching Darnell beam with pride. The truth really does make the best art, doesn't it? Grace squeezed my arm in warning. I was letting my mask slip. But it didn't matter now. In 1 week, at the gallery opening, Vienna's carefully constructed world would shatter like a dropped wine glass, and I would be there to watch every precious piece fall. The gallery buzzed with pre-show preparations. Workers hung lights, arranged pedestals, and measured spaces between paintings. I watched from the shadows as Kyler directed traffic like a conductor. The centerpiece needs perfect lighting, he insisted, gesturing to the covered canvas. Mr. Henry's commission is the highlight of the show. Vienna appeared, carrying a stack of programs. She'd been practically living at the gallery this week, helping Darnell prepare. The programs listed her as creative director and muse. Everything needs to be perfect, she told Kyler. I've invited every major critic in the city. I smiled. So had I, through Grace's connections. My phone vibrated. A text from Chris, my oldest friend. Got the security footage you wanted. You won't believe what I found. I met him at his office downtown. Chris worked in building security, and he'd helped me access the gallery's camera system. Watch this, he said, pulling up footage from 3 nights ago. The video showed Vienna and Darnell after hours, their faces illuminated by the gallery lights. They were arguing. Turn up the audio, I said. Can't keep lying to him, Darnell was saying. After the show, we'll have everything we want, Vienna cut in. Trey's connections will fund your next exhibition. We just need to play this right. Chris stopped the video. There's more. They've been meeting here almost every night. And look at this. He switched to another clip, showing Vienna removing something from Darnell's original centerpiece painting. She replaced it with your commission last night. Where's the original? Storage room B. Want me to show you? We found it hidden behind some crates. The original was beautiful. An abstract piece about hope and redemption. Nothing like the commission piece that would now take its place. She's sabotaging his real work, I said quietly. Making sure your commission is the only option for the show. That's cold, Chris muttered. Even for her. Back at the gallery, I watched Vienna direct the lighting crew, positioning spots to highlight her section of the show. Darnell stood nearby, looking increasingly uncertain. Grace appeared at my side. The critics are confirmed. Everyone who matters will be here. And the documentation. She patted her bag. All the proof anyone would need that this was Darnell's commissioned work. Legally signed over to you. Plus some interesting bank statements showing where Vienna's been moving money from your joint account. I nodded. And the press? 3 major art blogs and 2 newspapers. They're especially interested since you hinted at a dramatic revelation during the unveiling. Darnell approached us, not recognizing me without my Samuel Henry disguise. Excuse me, this area is closed for preparation. Just admiring the space, I said, turning to leave. It's going to be quite a show. That evening, Vienna came home late, humming to herself as she packed a small bag. Going somewhere? I asked from the doorway. She jumped. Oh, just staying at the gallery tonight. Last-minute preparations. Of course. I watched her pack her favorite dress. The big reveal tomorrow. Wouldn't want to miss that. She paused, studying my face. Are you okay, Trey? You seem different lately. Just excited to see the show, especially the centerpiece. I hear it's quite intimate. Vienna's hands trembled slightly as she zipped her bag. You'll be there? Wouldn't miss it for the world. After she left, I called Grace. Everything's ready? All set. Tomorrow night, they'll learn what it means to trust the wrong person. I hung up and poured myself a drink, studying Vienna's favorite photo of us on the wall. By this time tomorrow, that photo would be as false as every promise she'd ever made. The night before the show, I sat alone in my study, a glass of scotch in hand, staring at the last photo Vienna and I had taken together. Happy, smiling, her head on my shoulder. All lies. My phone lit up with a text from her. Staying at the gallery again tonight. So much to prepare. Love you. I typed back. Good luck with everything. See you tomorrow. Grace called moments later. Final check. You sure about this? Play it back to me, I said, setting down my glass. Okay. At 7 p.m. the gallery opens. At 8:30, Kyler makes his speech introducing Darnell. At 8:45, the centerpiece unveiling. That's when I hand the documentation to the critics, proof of commission, ownership rights, and the original reference photos. And the security footage? Chris has it queued up to play on the gallery's screens right after the unveiling. Every late-night meeting, every secret rendezvous, all of it. I stood, walking to the window. And Vienna's financial records? Ready. Shows her moving your money into Darnell's accounts. The critics will love that detail. The struggling artist funded by his lover's unsuspecting husband. A car pulled up outside the gallery across the street. Vienna stepped out, followed by Darnell. They kissed in the shadows, thinking no one could see. One last chance to back out, Grace said softly. Did she give me a chance? I watched them disappear into the gallery. Did she think about backing out while she was destroying those other marriages? While she was planning to use my connections to launch Darnell's career? No, Grace sighed. She didn't. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and checked the gallery's security feed. Chris had given me access. Vienna and Darnell were in the main space, champagne in hand, rehearsing tomorrow's speeches. To us, Vienna was saying, and our new life. What about the painting? Darnell asked. Something feels strange about it. It's perfect, Vienna assured him. Trust me. I switched cameras, watching them move through the gallery. They stopped at the covered centerpiece. Should we look at it one more time? Darnell reached for the cover. No, Vienna grabbed his hand. It's bad luck. Besides, you've seen it every day while painting it. But he hadn't. He'd seen the reference photos, carefully edited to hide the truth. Tomorrow, he'd see the reality in brutal, undeniable clarity. My phone buzzed, a text from Chris. Security's been briefed. They'll let you in the back entrance tomorrow at 8:30. Perfect. Everything was in place. I poured another scotch and pulled out the gallery invitation. Vienna had left it on my pillow with a note. Please come. It means everything to me. For once, she wasn't lying. This show did mean everything to her. Her chance to publicly establish herself in the art world. Her opportunity to transition from my wife to Darnell's partner. Her moment of triumph, which would make her fall that much harder. A final text from Grace. Last check. Invitations sent to every major gallery owner in the city? Done, I replied. By tomorrow night, they'll all know exactly who Vienna and Darnell really are. I finished my drink and went to bed, sleeping better than I had in months. Tomorrow would be Vienna's big night, her moment in the spotlight. She'd finally get the attention she'd always craved. Just not the kind she was expecting. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone completely. Sometimes it's about letting them destroy themselves while you simply provide the stage. And tomorrow's stage was set perfectly. The gallery hummed with anticipation. Vienna floated through the crowd in a red dress, playing the perfect hostess. Darnell stood near his paintings, accepting compliments with practiced modesty. Neither of them had noticed me yet, standing in the shadows near the covered centerpiece. Places everyone, Grace whispered through my earpiece. Kyler's about to start. The gallery owner tapped his glass, calling for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most anticipated show of the year. I watched Vienna squeeze Darnell's hand as Kyler praised his unique vision and raw emotional honesty. The irony was delicious. And now, Kyler continued, the moment we've all been waiting for. Darnell's masterpiece, commissioned by the distinguished collector Samuel Henry. Grace appeared beside me, press packets in hand. Ready? I nodded. The cover fell away. For a moment, there was absolute silence. Then Vienna screamed. The painting was magnificent in the spotlight. Every detail crystal clear. Vienna and Darnell entwined on my marriage bed. The afternoon sun casting shadows across their bodies. My wedding ring gleaming on the nightstand. The wine glasses on the floor. Everything exactly as it had been that day. Darnell stepped closer, his face draining of color. That's not possible. Beautiful work, I said loudly, stepping forward. You really captured the moment. Vienna spun toward my voice. Trey? Samuel Henry, actually. I smiled at the gathering crowd. I commissioned this piece. Paid quite well for it, too. Grace began distributing the press packets. Critics flipped through pages, gasps and murmurs spreading through the gallery. The reference photos, one critic said, they're dated. Multiple encounters. Bank transfers, another added, from the artist's wife to security footage? A third held up their phone playing one of the videos Chris had provided. Darnell staggered back from the painting. I never realized that you were painting yourself, I asked. Too caught up in your own genius to recognize your own betrayal? Vienna lunged for the press packets, but it was too late. Phones were out, pictures being taken, social media already buzzing. You can't do this, she hissed at me. This will ruin us. No, Vienna, you did this. I just commissioned the evidence. Kyler pushed through the crowd, his face purple with rage. What is this? Darnell, explain. But Darnell was already pushing past people, heading for the exit. His career, built on authenticity and vision, was imploding in real time. Please, Vienna grabbed my arm. We can talk about this. Fix this. I gently removed her hand. Like we talked about it when I found you in our bed? Like you planned to fix it by taking my money and connections before leaving me? Tears streamed down her face, but I'd learned to see through those. The painting is mine, I announced to the room. Legally commissioned and paid for. The documentation is all there in your press packets, along with evidence of how this collaboration really developed. Critics were already typing on their phones. Gallery owners who'd been praising Darnell minutes ago now wouldn't meet his eyes. Vienna's carefully constructed world was shattering like fine crystal. "You've ruined everything," she whispered. "No," I replied, loud enough for nearby critics to hear. "I just revealed the truth. Isn't that what art is supposed to do?" I turned and walked toward the exit, pausing only to address Kyler. "I'll be removing my painting tomorrow. You can reach me through my representative, Grace." The last thing I heard as I left was Vienna's sob, followed by the rapid-fire clicks of camera phones capturing her downfall. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's letting your betrayers expose themselves. The morning after the gallery show, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Art blogs were running the story nonstop. "Acclaimed artist's affair exposed through his own work," read one headline. "Betrayal on canvas," declared another. Grace arrived with coffee and the morning papers. "You made the front page of the arts section. How bad is it?" For them, nuclear. 3 galleries have already pulled Darnell's work. Vienna's PR firm dropped her as a client. She handed me my coffee. "She's been calling me all morning." "What does she want?" "To explain, to apologize, to beg you to take down the social media posts." I shook my head. The truth hurts, doesn't it? My phone lit up with a text from Darnell. "Please, let me explain. I'll pay you back the commission." That's the 7th message from him, Grace noted. Kyler's furious. Says his gallery's reputation is ruined. Funny how they're all worried about reputation now. A knock at the door interrupted us. Chris entered, grinning. "You've got to see this." He pulled up a video on his phone. Vienna stood outside our house. My house now, surrounded by reporters. "My husband orchestrated this malicious attack," she was saying, tears flowing. "He never supported my art." The reporters cut her off. "What about the bank transfers? Did you plan to leave him after the show? Were there others before Darnell?" I switched off the phone. "Enough." "What now?" Grace asked softly. "Now?" I walked to my study where the painting hung. "Now I move forward." The doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw Vienna. Mascara streaked across her face. "Don't answer it," Chris warned. But I was done hiding. I opened the door. "Please," she whispered. "Everything I built, it's all gone. You built it on lies, Vienna. What did you expect?" "I loved you," she said. "In the beginning, I really did." "No. You loved what I could give you. Access, connections, security." She stepped closer. "We could start over. I'll do therapy, whatever you want." "There's nothing left to start over." I held up my phone, showing her the divorce papers my lawyer had just sent. "Your things will be packed and sent to wherever you're staying." "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore." I closed the door on her tears, feeling nothing but relief. Back in the study, Grace and Chris were waiting. "You okay?" Chris asked. "Better than okay." I looked at the painting. This stays here. Not as a reminder of betrayal, but of the moment I stopped being a victim. "Speaking of moments," Grace smiled, holding up her phone. "Darnell just posted a public apology. He's stepping away from the art world to reflect on his choices." "Reflection looks good on canvas," I said. "Less so in real life." The doorbell rang again. This time it was my mother, Patricia. "I saw the news," she said, hugging me tight. "I'm so proud of how you handled this." "Really? Not too vindictive?" She looked at the painting, then back at me. "You turned their betrayal into art, made them face themselves. That's not vindictive. That's justice." Grace raised her coffee cup. "To justice." "To truth," Chris added. "To moving forward," I finished, feeling lighter than I had in months. Outside, I could hear Vienna's car starting, driving away for the last time. But I didn't watch her go. Instead, I stayed with the people who'd helped me turn betrayal into strength, knowing that sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies, it's about reclaiming yourself.